Hello fam, this is Rain from the YouTube channel This Big Life. Welcome to Mindful Mondays. It's gonna be the last one of the year, I think, because I need to take a little break for the sake of the holidays. A lot of families coming in town and it's time to focus on them. So I will see you for the next episodes of Mindful Mondays and This Big Life in the new year. 2020. This series is Mindful Mondays. It's all about self-actualization, things that I'm studying, finding, discovering. I'm sharing it with you. We go deep down the rabbit hole, tons of philosophy. With all that being said, happy holidays. Let's go. Tell me how this sounds to you. Be it unto us our most glorified blessing, to serve those who cannot serve themselves, and to give to those who we could not formerly see the light within, but who showed the light to us once we sacrificially gave to them. Okay, so that's not direct scripture, but Jesus did say something very, very similar. In the Bible, it says, when you have a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends, your brothers, or your relatives, or your rich neighbors, unless they also invite you in return and you are repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you. Now we are going to informally jump into the rabbit hole. That's not scripture, that last part was me. I think a lot of the time this concept of giving and service is an exploited concept. It gets misconstrued. It's made complicated on purpose, in a sense where this life calling, the true life purpose of giving and service, is something that we sort of grow numb to. For example, fundraisers to well-established businesses that serves only the purpose of a charitable donation tax deduction, which is within the confines of this sort of man-made structure, right? You know, I'm not condemning anything. I'm just saying that this is Mindful Mondays, and in Mindful Mondays, we talk about self-actualization. I don't think you're gonna find your answers within a government-mandated system. Mandated and all. And that's not saying that giving to charities is bad. Give. Like, if you're already doing that, congratulations. You know, give and serve your way to a better understanding. Truly. Like, thank you for what you're already doing. But in Mindful Mondays, as always, what I'm talking about is foundational truth, really unfolding what it is that we're talking about. So I love nature, and I just spent a lot of time on a farm. It's up in the mountains. You're just immersed in nature, and it's so humbling, not only because of the nature that you're surrounded by, but the work that this couple put into building this place. Where are the lessons of giving and service within nature? A single seed blooms, and it blooms with very little. With sunlight, it needs sunlight and water and carbon dioxide and the right soil. Sometimes it needs shade depending on the plant. It truly only takes what it needs in order to survive. And within those conditions of only taking what it needs to survive, it proves to us that it is very easy to transcend survival and grow into thriving. Depending on the plant that you're working with, the plant will sacrifice itself in its entirety to us. Everything that it's capable of giving, it will give. It'll give it to the animals. It'll give it to the environment. It gives everything it has, and it'll help sustain us and feed us and nourish us and shelter us and heal us sometimes through its medicinal properties. It provides oxygen, and all as a gift. It's a gift. We can secure every single fruit from its harvest. We can hack at it. We can kick it. We can carve our name in it. And still, what is it going to do the next year? It's going to give us more fruit. It's going to grow again, and it's going to give us everything it has again and again and again. And a huge reminder to me when I was out there at the farm, and one that I want to share, we are of nature within the world that we have been given. And it's humbling, you know? How do you continue to give and give and give based solely on having only what you need in order to survive? The plants, they don't hoard, they don't covet, they don't charge money, and they don't resist providing fruit because the tree next to them is growing more fruit than they are, or is bigger than they are. And if the plant is half diseased, it's still gonna work so hard to provide fruit. And it's going to continue doing so until the plant's entire life cycle is over, or until its ability for you to reap its harvest is over. And it keeps giving even if the fruit can't be taken, because if the fruit can't be taken, then the fruit falls. It falls to the ground, and then it rots, and then it replenishes the soil so that it can continue to give more the next year. I mean, what an incredibly balanced philosophy. And as we are all wholly and humbly beginning to realize, nature is always a few steps ahead. Even when we try to intervene with our technology and our genetics, even our understanding, it is always a few steps ahead. And we remain at its mercy and continue to be perplexed. And at this point in self-actualization, in essence, I've realized that this is really a matter of me surrendering to this truth because it's all I have left to do and it's all I have left to share. You know, we're not plants, right? We're not plants. That's not what I'm saying. But there is a foundational rational truth in the fact that we are of nature and we come from the same place. We have the same building material, so to speak. But I am specifically talking about within the human condition of what we are capable of doing, which is a little bit different than plants. So what is the bare minimum that we need in order to survive, in order to transcend survival into thriving? And those answers may vary. It could vary. What our circumstances have been is different. Thus, what we can give is going to be different. You have different nutrients with a tree. It's going to give you a different type of fruit. So for some of us, that's going to be poignant. I think that you will understand what we're talking about. You can probably stop watching and roll with this. For some of us, we need a little bit more. So I'm going to keep talking, okay? We basically want to morph into a state where we can continue to give endlessly. When you think about our everyday life, the energy that we think we need in order to keep going kind of goes something like this. How much water and protein do I need in order to sustain a 120-minute workout session or a yoga class? Versus how long can I work today cultivating a 460-acre piece of property with my own hands that will sustain thousands of people with the energy that I have available to me today? How many meals can I prepare for the homeless? How many hours can I dedicate to the battered woman's shelter? How many miles can I walk to my job that sustains my family? I want you to know I'm speaking from a place of having a past around a misunderstanding of this whole concept within my confused human condition. I realize that when there is a real neglect of the consideration of our ability and our blessing to give, what is happening is that we are forgetting to see and harness and recognize that of which we already have. And I'm not just talking about cash. You know, we can feel like we fall short in a lot of areas in life. And we can grow wise to realize that the poor and the homeless are more wise than we are because they don't yearn for money. They yearn for understanding and kindness and connection. And in that sense, they are blessed in a way that sometimes we are blind to because of money. And there have been times, even up until recently, where I was convinced that I didn't have enough to give. I had to wait until this or that, until circumstances were just right. And not because I didn't have enough to give, but because I had become blind and ignorant to that of which I already had. And once I realized that, it opened up space for me to be able to give from a much bigger, more expansive understanding. In the past, I would do very, very dumb things because I was so confused about this whole concept. I would lie, I would steal, and I was thinking about this the other night, and it really made me start to cry. And it didn't make me start to cry because I felt bad or shame. I felt a little bad. I certainly felt regret in a way where it's like, I understand I won't do these things anymore. But I started to cry because I was sad that I didn't realize that I had everything I needed and that I didn't have to do those things. That sort of self-denial, that self-betrayal, that not being in touch with the reality of your circumstances, sort of falling victim to being a victim. I had always had everything I needed to make the right decisions and be a good person. There was always more than enough in order to help, for me to serve, in order to give. The world and what it had done to me wasn't what made me hard. I had made my heart hard, and I had allowed it to close to the truth of myself and the truth of my life. You know, I was the greedy tree that showed no acceptance in its inherent purpose of service and giving, convinced that I needed more before I could, or that I was never ready. You know, I'm just not ready. When in fact, I had been given everything I needed and more in order to be ready. That realization was what made me sad. This process, this humbling process, I'm so grateful for because truths like this are finding me. You know, the truth is we are always surviving. We all have stories and things that we have no idea the other person is going through. We have no idea our friends are going through. Even family, people who we know every day. We're all always surviving for that reason. And thus, thriving is a choice. The more we give, the more we can give. Because the fruit tree doesn't hold on to its fruit. It lets it all go. Everything. Because of it, for the next year, the branches are primed to give away even more. Now, I'm not talking about going into debt for Christmas presents, guys. I'm talking about our inherent gifts of the heart. If you need to feed someone, if someone is in deep need of kindness, if someone needs to be led the right way, someone needs to be the change, let's be the change. And if a gift basket needs to be given from the heart and not out of obligation, let's give the gift basket. I mean, not out of obligation, as in like this gift basket company is like bookmarked because it's your go-to default that you give to everybody on the holidays so you don't have to think about it. It's kind of the same as giving money to an organization that you don't really know much about, but you're doing it for the exchange of a leveraged business relationship. This distinction for us as humans is important because unlike the sustenance that plants provide, we as humans have the power to make each other feel, and not just one another, but we have the ability to affect animals in that way, plants, water. I mean, we are the stewards of the earth if we are willing to slow down and to learn and to watch and to listen. Have you ever seen those studies of water molecules when you talk from a place of kindness or a place of hatred? There's this really cool video. And why is this a thing? You know, it's so funny. Did anyone see Frozen 2? Do you remember that concept? It was like one of many concepts, but this concept stuck out to me so intensely because some of my colleagues and I have been working with this truth as a foundation for a farming project.
I want to know what happened to them.
In the movie, they said water has memory, but this isn't Disney just making stuff up. The emotional effect that we can evoke in the environment is very powerful as humans. The gift of giving, our inherent purpose, the way in which we are positioned in this world can only be guided by the heart. And it's powerful, and it is critical to understand this distinction. Within the guidance of our origin of nature, we can totally live by Maya Angelou's quote.
In the Old Testament, we are told in Genesis that in the beginning was the Word. Words are things. You must be careful. Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
And that is a scientifically proven fact. So, you know, I may not be able to give loads of gifts. I may not be able to give tons of money or offer something that I know nothing about and pretend to be someone that I'm not. But from the things that I'm prepared to give, from who I authentically am, I was always ready. I was always abundant. I always had enough, and I was always capable. And that realization is really what saved this part of me that wanted to chip away at life by doing the wrong things, you know, stealing or lying. That sad state where I didn't realize what I had. And because if it's not a realization within yourself, it's your dog. If it's not your dog, it's your family. If it's not your family, it's your friends. If it's not your friends, it's your local barista. If it's not your local barista, it's your local community. If it's not your local community, it's your job. Our life is so exponentially blessed. And we just have to sometimes reach out enough to get the help from people who are already giving so that we can get back in balance with what our inherent purpose is ourselves. Our purpose was always to give. It was always to be in service. Because just like the tree, through our seasons, we have everything we need. When we have everything we need, it is our choice to transcend survival and to be thriving. It'll always be a choice. Okay, y'all, that's it for the week. Happy Mindful Mondays. Thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays. Again, I will see you in the new year. Much love. So many blessings to you and your family. And I will see you real soon. All right, happy 2020, y'all. Bye.